från Norrland alltså.
Mm. Umeå, för att vara lite mer exakta.
Umeå. Samma sak?
Ja.
Umeå. Ja.
Kolla de här killarna.
Stanna! Killar, stanna!
Varför det?
Kom hit!
Vad har vi gjort?
Kan ni stanna?
Vad har vi gjort?
Kan ni stanna? Vad är det du inte fattar? Ska du stanna?
Bara.
Ska du stanna, sa jag! Stanna! Lägg dig på magen! Lägg dig på magen!
Det är inget konstigt att gå hit. Helt normalt. Hjärtat, du är helt normal. Du behöver inte hålla på och säga att du ska till tandläkaren och sånt där. Okej? Hallå, vad gör du nu? Kan du sluta?
Jag tar en selfie.
Här, på BUP.
Ja. Du vet, det är normalt att ta selfies i min ålder.
Sluta nu.
Men vad? Alla gör det och jag var ju normal,
Okej.
eller hur?
Bara lägg ner.
Sasha?
Ja,
Ja.
hej.
Hi, this is James Velasquez, and welcome to the Masterclass for Directors, presented by Kulturakademin. Today we'll be speaking to Sanna Lenken. Hey Sanna, thanks for being here, I appreciate it.
Hello.
Can you give the audience a little background?
I am a film director and sometimes a scriptwriter, and I was born in Gothenburg, and when I was 9 years old I moved to Alingsås, which is a small town in Sweden, and but now I live in Stockholm since 2005, and I live together with my boyfriend and our 2 daughters, who are 5 and 10 years old.
You have an interesting journey into the director's chair. You started working as a production assistant, an editor, director's assistant, extras coordinator. You did some casting. How do you think this has helped you as a director?
I think it made me more humble, maybe. I would never shout at someone who's making coffee, for example. I also think I have an eye for good team members. You have to be kind of fast in your thought, and you have to be fast steps in the film business. So if someone is too slow, I often think maybe you should do something else. That's maybe harsh, but that's because I think I worked a lot, and you have to be on your toes all the time when you're filming. It was very much a male world when I started. I almost only worked with male directors, and I think that has changed now, and you can't really do whatever you want nowadays, which is good. So, but I also think, this thing that I really can tell very quickly if someone is going to stay in the film business or not.
Where did you find the taste for directing? Did you find it under those small jobs, or did you find it somewhere else?
I never thought, actually when I started with film, I just wanted to start to work. I had worked with theater and I wanted to become an actress. And it didn't work out well for me, sadly. I never got into the stage school. I applied to stage schools, and I think I felt insecure actually, and I felt kind of quickly that this is not my cup of tea, even though I thought that for a couple of years. So it was not so sad to take the decision not to try out that anymore, but then I felt like I don't want to be in the theater without being on stage. But film sounds more like a sort of group work, to work with a group of people. So in the beginning I just love, I love theater, I love film, music, but directing is, I didn't see myself as that I could be a director, I think, before I was 24 maybe. And that was while I was making all these jobs as extra coordinator and first assistant, that I felt like, okay, if these guys can tell these stories and they can do this, then I can do it better. So it was kind of actually because I was working so close to directors, and a lot of directors that I didn't feel like they knew what to tell, and they didn't even some of them were not even interested in what they were telling. I remember one director, he said, "Why am I doing this?" And then I was thinking, okay, then I can do your job. So it was when you start to compare yourself maybe, and then you grow and you understand that, okay, I have something as well, and directing is so great because you have all these, I mean, I love music, I love acting, I love art, so literature, so everything is put together when you're a film director. You have to be able to work with everything.
Did anything growing up influence you? Were you watching films as a kid?
My mom had a film club in Alingsås, this small town, and she screened art house movies that I wouldn't have seen, I think, if she wouldn't have brought me there. So I watched Jane Campion, I watched Orlando, actually female directors, and a lot of films that I still think are very important to me. And so I would say my mom is an important reason why I started to love film. But since I was also interested in maybe even more in theater at that point, I mean, I would say Lars Norén and Harald Pinter and some scriptwriters also are very much influenced to me. That I read a lot when I was in Shakespeare. I read a lot of plays when I was younger. It was somewhere I could flee into when life was boring.
You then decided to apply to Dramatiska Institutet, or the Stockholm's, as a director. What made you decide to go this route instead of continue on working your way up behind the camera?
I don't think you need to go to the National Film School, but I think I needed to do that because I think it sounds maybe sad, but I think I needed someone to tell me that you're good enough. Because I was thinking, if I don't get in here, I will continue working, and maybe I don't even become a director, then maybe I will do something like a set designer, or maybe I will be something else behind the camera. One thing that I learned maybe the most is that I got a lot of feedback, harsh feedback. And that is in a school, and you're maybe only 30 pupils and a teacher, but it could be really harsh things about your short films and how bad you were and how could you do this film. And one teacher, he thought everything I did was shit, and and then you go out in the world and you get reviews, which the whole Sweden could read, or even sometimes the world, and so I think that was very good. That I learned how to, okay, but I believe in this. You might think it's shit, but I think it's beautiful, and to argue about my films, or realize they are right, it's shit. I should do something else. When I felt very strongly, you're wrong, and I know I'm right, because it's to be a director, you have to take from yourself. You can't tell me what's good or bad, because that's my craft, to take from myself and to try to be as honest as possible as a person when I direct. So I think it made me, in the end, very strong. I think it was good for me, even if it was a harsh way, and not maybe okay sometimes. It was before Me Too and everything, and I think now it wouldn't have been okay. But sometimes I think the wrong way can be a good way in the end. It's not as black and white sometimes. So I'm very happy I went there, actually. In the National Film School in Sweden, you have to work together with the scriptwriter all the time. So we couldn't sometimes I really longed to tell my stories. It had to be a consensus of, you want to do this, I want to do this. It was like a triangle of producer, scriptwriter, director, and we had to agree what to do. And I felt very strong that I want to do my own stuff. So I started to write immediately after school. I started to write.
That's when you wrote My Skinny Sister?
Yeah, Eating Lunch, which was a short film I made before My Skinny Sister, and then My Skinny Sister. So, and I think it was good that I did it after film school, because I had these ideas while I was going in film school. But I think it was good I was on my own making them. after film school, I felt almost like I need to push myself away from that school, because I also felt they had some sort of ideas about filmmaking that I didn't agree on. It was more, what is a good story? They didn't start with us. They started, what is a good story? And I would start with the directors. Or I mean, the story, of course, script writers as well, but what do you want to tell the world? What are you? And they were not interested in that. They were more interested in a good story. And okay, it's okay, but I would have done it differently.
How do you bring out that story from yourself, from inside of you? How does Sanna bring out that story? What's her process?
It's, you always think, or I can sometimes start to think about the audience, and that's the worst thing, you know, or compare it to other things. And so I really need to focus completely on myself when I write, and I need to have I can't be together with my kids. I can't be together with anyone. I really need a silent room to completely focus on myself to write something honest. And I like to go away when I write, so I can close the door. I can be on my own. And I think to find if I find a subject that I know that I can go on forever with this subject, then I know I've found something. Because it's so much about having the lust and the will to do something, because you have to keep on fighting for your projects for such a long time. And then when you don't get the money, you have to, when do you stop? Because of course you can go on forever with one script if you want to, but it's like you have to bury it somewhere. And sometimes I think, if I don't have lust anymore, okay, now the lust is gone. Like my Skinny Sister, I could have worked with that kind of film in different stores, but the same subject forever, I think. It kept me going, you know.
Vad är det?
Berätta för oss hur du mår.
Bra.
Är du säker på det?
Verkligen säker.
Ja, vadå?
Jag har inte känt att du har märkt att du har gått ner lite i vikt sista tiden.
Jag har haft ett virus, jag har ingen matlust.
Nej, det finns inget virus. Sluta hålla på med det här. Vi vet, Katja.
Jo, det gör det visst.
Katja.
Jag måste gå och
Vi
träna.
vet. Nej, sitt ner. Sätt dig ner. Vi vet att du kräks. Titta inte på Stella, för vi vet det. Vi vet att du kräks.
Nej, det gör jag inte.
Vet du, älskling, så här är det. Att imorgon så ska du och jag och pappa få tag på en läkare som är väldigt bra på de här sakerna och beställa en tid hos dem.
Men jag behöver ingen läkare.
Jo, du behöver hjälp.
Jag mår bra.
Du mår inte alls bra och vi behöver hjälp utav en läkare.
Nej.
Jo, så sitt ner gumman. Du kommer inte ur det här, förstår du. För det finns ingen annan utväg än att vi måste få hjälp utav en annan utomstående. För pappa och jag kan inte de här sakerna.
Ni får inte ringa.
Det finns en hel avdelning som håller på med de här frågorna på sjukhuset.
De är jätteduktiga.
Ja. Och då får de titta på dig och prata med dig och säga hur vi ska komma ur det här.
And what brought you to that point where you were ready to write just that or make that film?
I mean, it was my debut, and I felt I need to. This is something I really need to tell, and I felt like it was a big hole. What do you say? It was. I didn't see any films. I didn't find any films about this topic, and and that is a great feeling. That I mean, okay, this is something the way I will do it is something a lot of people haven't seen. And then it was very close to me. It was a subject I knew a lot about because I was sick myself. So it was so easy to find scenes. And then I did a lot of research and asked a lot of families to be in the research. So I had a lot of people around me talking about this film. I haven't seen it for a while, but I know when I saw it, I felt that this is very much me. This is my tone. This is how I like to direct, and I'm proud of that film. And during that year, I was kind of alone as a woman in Sweden to make a debut, I think, because I was asked to be in so many talks and to have often with 2 male directors. And I said yes to everything because I felt like this is how you do it. And it was also released in a lot of countries, so then I had to go and promote that film. So I would say I was stuck in that film for 1 year, traveling around the world with that film. And it sounds maybe glamorous, and sometimes, of course, it is glamorous because you win prizes and you have a nice, hotel room. But in the end, I felt really sick of it because I felt I was stuck in a project or a film that was already done. I needed to move on.
Can you give us an insight into your writing process, idea to script? Do you have routines?
Of course, it doesn't have to start with an idea from like, it should be a man is doing this, and in the end it should be like that. It's more like scenes and a topic that I'm interested in. And then I start to write a lot of scenes on a paper. Like it doesn't have to be connected or anything, everything I'm interested in. And I write it down, page up and down, and it just have a flow in that. And now I'm in that, right now I'm in the middle of this. And I love it. And then I know it's going to be harsh, because then I have to put them together and try to find a story. But I mean, it's all circled through around the same subjects. I mean, I'm always interested in how what it means to be a human being. That's, I mean, what everything is. I mean, the questions: why are we here? what are we doing? But it's when I start to think about something a lot, I feel like here I have something. Sometimes I also write because it's too hard, to be honest. It's so hard living. And a way of dealing with that is to write. You can go through a lot of harsh stuff. And if I didn't have the writing or the filmmaking, I don't know how to survive, actually. I mean, I think the words that I write is to get me through things as well. And it's very much for me. But then I often think if it's about me and I feel really interested in it, you would be interested in it as well, if I can be as honest as possible. And it sounds easy, but I mean, of course, I question a lot about what am I making and why am I making this? But that's the way it works. I mean, you should question it as well. It's a flow in the best of worlds. It's not every day a flow. Sometimes it's just piss and dark days.
Is there a difference for you between writing and then directing your own script versus directing somebody else's script?
Yes, yeah, of course. It's very different. I get now when TV has started to, just explode. I get a lot of offers from TV, and then I get scripts, and a lot of them are not my tone, I would say. I just put it that I mean, it's not. I'm not interested in it. Maybe I can maybe see another director making it, but it's very hard to find. I would say for me, it's very hard to find things that I really, really want to do, and I say no to a lot of things because I don't see myself being able to do it because I'm not interested enough. Or I think when I get touched by the script, or if it makes me think a lot, like that I start to ask questions about things, then I'm interested in the script. And it's a luxury to get a script that I like. It's a luxury because, I mean, it takes a lot of time for me to write. It's not that I write, I couldn't survive on my writing because I'm too much of a mood person. And to get a great script from someone that has actually written something that I would like to tell as well, it's magic, I would say. But it's also hard because it's someone else who has written it and they have their own idea about how it should, be done. And then I come in and I have my idea how it should be done. And then you fight a bit sometimes, or you are, go the same path. But it's the harsh thing. I would say it's luxury and it's fantastic if it's great and I want to do it. And the bad thing is, of course, that I can't be as free as I can with my own script. I can shoot my own script and I can say to the actors, okay, this scene is shit. You are so much better than this. We should improvise this scene. Or we should do another scene. Or the whole dialogue in this script is bad. When you are the main lead now, you talk like that, and then we should change everything. And then I can be completely free with my own script and with a scriptwriter is, most of the ones I worked with really want me to be, you know, don't do too much improvisations and don't change it too much. And of course it's they worried that I will completely change the story. But one thing I think is very important, they have the structure, they have the situations. And then it's just, you know, what I do as a director is that I try to make it like an interpretation of what they've written. And I feel like the hardest thing is that I want to be more free sometimes when I work with scriptwriters. But most of the time I think it's a luxury.
Because that interpretation is also visual. It's not words on a page.
No. When I read something, I kind of quickly get some sort of images in my head, like this should be rough, or now I actually think about my TV series, The Thin Blue Line. When I got, it's maybe easier to talk about a specific project. Like when I got the script, it was not a script; it was just a treatment, and I was very touched by the script. And then I immediately actually got pictures of how I would like to do it, and also how I wanted to cast it, how I wanted to direct it. And I started to write down words and find a lot of pictures that connected to my idea. That was a way of give the producers and also the scriptwriter Silla Jacket my interpretation. I don't think that was her vision actually at all, because I had different references than she had, a lot of different. But I think we worked kind of long together before we actually got green light to make the TV series. So I think that way of working with the scriptwriter is very good, that I tell her or him, this is how I would like to do it. A lot of pictures, references, and then talk. And sometimes if I don't get any idea, when I read something and I don't get any images, or then I get scared, because then it's, even if I'm interested and I don't get pictures, it's something wrong, I think. So it's nice when you read something and you immediately get images, because then it's just like keep on moving. If you write yourself and you direct yourself, it's one voice, I mean, which makes it more free. But with the TV series, I like that kind of process as well, because I like when we start to question things that she questions or he questions. And I have to be, it's why I think the National Film School is good, because then I can argue. I'm good in, no, this way is the best.
Yeah.
It's the most artistic way of doing this.
Describe your process when choosing a project that isn't your own writing, and what attracts you first.
I need to feel something, and I need to, and one thing I really think is great as well is if you start to ask questions. It's not like an answer in the script, it's like more questions than answers. And I also like the characters to be both good and bad. That's the most interesting thing, that they are well written in that sense. And I also, if it comes from someone else, it's one thing I think is so important, and that is that the people behind it are honest and has worked with it for a long time. Then I like it even more than I have an idea, I write it down and then give it to you. I mean, it's so nice when someone have actually thought about things before they send it to me. I feel that they tell something about how it is to be a human being, and it can be eating disorders, it can be, I mean, policemen in Malmö. If it starts to make me question what would I do, or how can we live in another way, or, you know, if it has these kind of questions, then it's relevant to me.
Stella, vart ska du?
Måste på toa.
Vad har du på hjärtat?
Vad gör man ifall man tror att någon inte äter och den person kräks?
Då ska du komma till mig, särskilt om det är någon här på skolan.
Och vad gör du då?
Då tar jag kontakt med den personen och så ser jag om det stämmer. Känner du någon som du tror har problem med maten?
Kanske.
Vem är det då?
Min kusin, men hon bor i Eskilstuna.
And you mentioned earlier that you present a lot of projects and they weren't really your tone.
Yeah.
Can you explain what you mean by that, what your tone is?
Yes, what is it? I don't know. No, but it's, I would say my tone is, of course, I like handheld camera. I mean, I like to be close to the actors. I'm very much an actor's director, I think. And I want to have a script where I can really, I want to go far with my actors, as far as they can go. And if I have a script where I can't find that, where I can't find scenes where I can go as far as I want to go, then it bores me a bit, actually, because I want to push everything to a limit. That's what I'm like, because we have that inside of us. And if it's too much like this, it can be, or too distant, if it's told in a distant way. Which can be very, like Roy Andersson, it's very much, you know, he talks objective and it's like a helicopter perspective. It's not my tone, but I can enjoy it because it tells also something about, I mean, exactly what I like, but my tone is much more close, intimate. Yeah, something very different. So I would say that is, yeah, a bit of my tone.
Yeah. A lot of your projects focus on younger subjects and often women. How is it that you tend to lean towards these types of projects?
I am a woman, and I think it's that easy because when I write myself, it very often starts with a woman or a young girl, and I think why I have done a lot with young girls, I can't really tell, because sometimes, you know, when you ask about ideas, and sometimes it's just, you know, an intuition that, oh, it has to be this 11-year-old girl, or it has to be this 16-year-old. But I think it's, if I think about my childhood and when I was a teenager, it's such a strong period in your life. It's where you become yourself in a way. I made one short film about being a mother, and that was actually when I did it, like, this is a present for all mothers and directors out there. And it became, I think, a present because I got so many female directors telling me how much they loved that film. It was about being an artist and a mother. Of course, it would be nice to go into a man as well, but it's not my experience. And then maybe it's harder for me to be honest. I don't know, since I think it's so important to be honest. But I mean, in the same time, I have got a lot of scripts. I mean, Tunna Blå Linjen, it was a lot of men. And then I think maybe I pushed them being a bit more, as a director, female actually, or like having more warmth in them that maybe male director would have done.
Do you think you have a responsibility as a woman to present more female voices?
I don't think it's my responsibility, but I think it's we are still lacking a lot of films about the experience of being a woman, and that's kind of not. I mean, for me, of course, it's like I said with My Skinny Sister. Okay, no one has. We have so many films about being a man, or you know, but much less films about being a woman. So, in one sense, I mean, it's great to be a female director right now who wants to tell stories about women, because we're still lacking films. But I don't feel like it's my responsibility, and I don't feel like I'm responsible in, you know, doing some sort of films because this I should tell about because it's my responsibility. No responsibility.
Good. So your script is finished, or you've been given a script. Either way, what's the process like now for you? You get the green light. What does Sanna do now?
Yeah, I start the casting often before the green light, but I mean, the casting process for me, it's one of the most important, because casting is everything, I would say, to cast the right person for the right part. And I cast a lot myself. Even though I work with casting directors, I also cast a lot myself. And I look through Sweden. It's always been like I like to find actors who are not too well known. It can be a well-known actor can be great, but there's some kind of laziness sometimes. I feel like, why can't we use someone else? Then I won't say any names, but there are so many great actors who haven't done anything. So I think that is some sort of responsibility. I feel like there's so many great actors that haven't done film because they don't maybe live in Stockholm, or people are lazy. Then when I do the casting process for me is also to try the script, try out the scenes, both when I write myself but also in TV. I mean, that you can really try the scenes. Do they work, or is there something wrong with them, or and also try different people together. And I see it as colors, like a color palette, that I want to find different colors and put them together until it's perfect. I have to be completely absorbed by the, look at them. And sometimes I tell actors it's hard to go to castings. I know that it's horrible, but it's also a way for them to get to know the director. Do they want to work with this director or not? They don't have the same opportunities as a director, but it's really, to me, it's about, do I work with this person?
How do you build that trust?
If we go back, I say yes to a project, or I have written it myself, then it has to be, then I have a solid ground that, I believe in this project, and then I have a lot of lust doing it, then I have a lot of power, and hopefully I'm honest in why I want to make it. And that is, I think, 80%, that I feel I know what I'm telling and I want you to be in this. Are you with me or not? And then you have started to build this trust, I think, that they trust in that I know what I'm talking about and what I want to tell. I will never come to the set without being prepared. I always prepare in I know I have read the scenes many times. I know I have always an idea about the movements and the scenery, and of course I can improvise. But I always have an idea at least, and that is, I think, also to build trust.
What are some things that you do to build that trust outside of being prepared? Are there certain exercises? Are there certain things that?
First of all, have a project that you love, because then it's going to come, all the trust will come from that, because then you can talk about the project in a way that people will be, oh, fantastic, I also want to be in your project because you talk so well about it and, you really are happy about it. I do a lot of rehearsals, and I think, of course, they are also a way of building trust, both to me, but also to the other actors. So a tip would be, to make rehearsals that make the actors come together as a group, because they have to, on screen, they have to show you that we believe in the relationships and their intimacy on the screen. Then you have to build it before, because you can't get intimacy on screen if you haven't built it before. And then I often do scenes, not from the script, but like if there's a love couple, then maybe you do a scene where they met. Maybe you go out in a bar and you let them talk in their characters for 2 hours. It's so fun. I always play games with my actors, like go out, you be in character. It's nothing right or wrong. You can just try out different things, and also a lot of talk, because I think I don't like conflicts on set. That's really a tip, to have talked about the scenes, where you're going, everything like that before the shooting. Because to be honest, when you in the middle of a shooting, you don't have time to have conflicts about where is this character going. That talk should have had long before, because then I also think the trust is built, that you don't start to argue every day about where you're going because you're not prepared, and I don't know, and a tip is not to be too scared about being childish. I do so many weird stuff. I don't even know if it's going to give something, but it's fun, and I believe in having fun. And that's a way of connecting to people. Don't feel like there's a book of how to make it. Just try to find yourself, rehearsal and exercises that you like.
Choosing your crew. Do you choose them based on what's what you feel is right for the project, artistically, or from a personal relationship standpoint, or do both sides weigh in the decision?
If I have to choose, of course it's the mixture, of course, but I would. I think actually what I have chosen is artistic. If I feel like, okay, I don't connect completely with you, but I think what you have is perfect for this. But if I can choose, of course, it's very nice to have a beer and talk about life with your DOP and have this personal connection. First AD and DOP, they are the ones who can see all my tears and laughs. And I mean, it's, as a director, you have to, you have to be strong. It's really heavy work, and it's kind of nice to have at least two. That's why it's nice to have a friend as a DOP, and artistically great. But I would say the first AD and the DOP are the ones that you go through a lot of things together with them, and it's nice if you can be as honest as possible, because that's also something which will be mirrored in the film or TV series. I have worked with a lot of different DOPs, and and sometimes I miss to have one that I always work with. But it has, in the same time, it has also been very good in trying different sort of way of working, because they have all been so different. Some prepare a lot. Some of them have left everything up to me, actually. And then some are into every detail. I mean, so I have learned a lot of how to work with different DOPs, and the most important to me is that they are emotionally involved with the story. If the DOP is not like that, then I don't like to work with them, because I want that focus on set. The most important thing is to get really great performances, not to get the best shot.
And a production designer, costume and makeup, how important where does that come in for you? What part of the process do you dip your toes into that?
It depends sometimes, because when I made my feature film Comedy Queen, I actually had a production designer before I had my DOP, and we started to create the world of that film, and then we could show it to the DOP when he was on it. Sometimes they get in later. I mean, they are also very important. I think the DOP is my closest in one way, because we're going through the whole shooting together. The production designer and the costume designer are not always on set, but I think they are, I mean, of course, really important to me as well. And I want people that I trust, and I like to work with production designers and costume designers and makeup that have ideas themselves. And I really like when they do their vision, like a mood for every character and every room, because then it's so much easier to talk about where should we go together. I do a lot of mood boards myself. I do a lot of mood boards about the characters, the costumes, the rooms. With Thin Blue Line, I did it for everything. And then, of course, they can go on with that and do something else if I accept it. But so I think I have a very strong feeling about where I want to go. But it's so nice when you work with great costume designers or production designers or DOPs that come back to me and they have something which is similar but better. That's the best. But I think it's very important in the end, when you start shooting, I think it's so important that you have the same vision together, that you all know where you're going.
Do you prefer the feature film format or the long series format, and does your process differ from the format?
I really try to work as I do with film, with TV, and have the same, even though it's harder sometimes with time and the shooting schedule and everything, to have the same ambition that this is, it's going to almost be as a film. But then it's nice with the feature film that you can have the overview, but with TV, I think it's so nice to have this connection with actors that you have for such a long time. If you work for a long time, it's almost like it really becomes a family. And if you make more seasons, in that sense, TV is such a nice working atmosphere.
What is it that you look for? What is the key ingredient for you as a director that you need from a producer?
that they are responsible for the project, and that they take responsibility if something happens, or for they take my back. What do you say? That they have my back, and that they believe in me, my interpretation of a thing, like that we have the same goal, I think is important. And then sometimes I need, a hug. It's as easy as that, actually. That someone, it's kind of hard sometimes to direct because it's so heavy. It's tough work, and then you're very lonely as a director, because you're the one who's, get up early. You have to have these scenes in the end of the day, and you're the one, of course, to get it with the team. But I would say you have to push it forward. And then that's the one I have above me. It's the producer.
It's called soft prep. About 5 months before shooting, or 4 to 5 months. Hard prep. 2 months before, maybe a month before.
Yeah.
And then the day before shooting. What's that look like for you?
I hate pre-production. I think it's sometimes I think maybe as now I experienced not as much hate as I did before with the second season of Tunna Blå Linjen, but I think it's so many choices to make, and it feels like it's going to be impossible to make this film or TV series. I don't understand how we're going to find all these 60 places and 60 actors or whatever, and how will I have time? And if you have 2 kids as well, like how will I be able to both be, in my family and do this? I like the soft prep, of course, because then you feel a little bit like, oh, it's 6 months before shooting, and then suddenly it's 5, and suddenly it's 4, and suddenly it's 3, and suddenly you're panicking. And but the last weeks, what I try to do is that I actually try to make decisions kind of not quickly in the way that, okay, I'm satisfied with this because it's easy. It's not that, but I think it's in one. I don't want to be a director who's, I don't know, maybe this is good. And sometimes it's just good to say, let's go for this. And then if I find out it was a bad choice, then I change. But most of the time I have an intuition that, okay, this place where we're going to shoot, I say yes to this, then I have to trust in my intuition that it's good. So I try to make a lot of choices connected with my stomach. And of course it's much harder before the shooting. I mean, the weeks before you start to shoot, then you really, I always stress and work day and night. In one way I should enjoy it more because it's the possibility time. I mean, it could be this, it could be that. I mean, that is kind of nice not knowing, but I liked when the shooting have started.
What's the day before the shoot look like for you?
I eat very good food, and I mean good in a way that it doesn't give me stomach ache. So no sugar, no alcohol, no I eat very healthy food the day before. I walk. That's something I have started to do a lot. I walk every day a lot. Try to relax a little bit. And then, of course, prepare the first day. Then I read the scenes, I go through the floor plans or the shooting list. I look at the schedule, is everything right? And then I often come very early the first day. So I go to bed probably very early if I don't shoot night. And I'm really, really nervous, always. I always feel like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be a director. And then the first day is done, and then I feel so relaxed most of the time. So I know this, I have to tell myself, you've done this before, it's been good. I mean, I'm kind of a coach for myself the day before. I tell my kids that it's always good to be pirry and nervous, because then then it means something to you. Because I love actually to shoot. Not all directors do, but I love the shooting period. While I'm shooting, I'm extremely focused. I'm in the moment. I'm completely in the moment, and I feel really calm in that. Even if it's stressful, I feel some sort of, maybe it's to flee, but it's also a way of dealing with life that I like, I think. And I think it's magic to be. I'm very happy I can be a director, because I think to shoot is magic.
Film versus digital.
I mean, film film is fantastic. During National Film School, we did all the short films with, not all the short films, but with 16mm. And I did the pilot for, I didn't shoot it, Jonas Alarik, the DOP, shot it on 16, the pilot to Thin Blue Line. But we weren't allowed to make it on 16 in the end of the day. And they thought, it was both SVT, Swedish television, and it was also the producer that thought maybe it would be, nowadays you can, put on this look, during the grading, which looks very similar. But we actually tried it, me and the DOP, and it didn't look the same. I would say it's much more beautiful with 16. I often, when I shoot, I don't want to disturb the actors, so I shoot a lot and I talk during shooting, so we say silent on set and then action, and then I can do it, then we do it over again, start from the beginning, without, saying thank you. So a shot, sometimes it goes on forever, because I want to keep on focusing on something. And that's of course maybe hard if I would have shot on film. But I felt the concentration when we did the pilot was very, very high, because we knew we couldn't do it too many times, because what happens is that you take too many. I think I do, and I know a lot of directors take too much. I try to make an atmosphere during the shooting that is like really almost the same emotions that I want them to have. And then I try to be in the moment with them, and then if I feel that if I push them even further, we do it again. They could go further, I feel. Then I just say we take it again, and then do it more. And so I lead them through the take. Especially with amateurs, I really like to lead them through the take. Not that I talk all the time, of course, but I talk a lot.
You take that into the editing room, and you have sort of you have a long take to go through and find those bits and pieces. What is that process like for you?
I watch all my takes almost for everything I do. Sometimes I don't have time when it comes to TV, but with now I made 2 features, I have watched everything. So because I think it's so important to find sometimes one way of looking is so much better. Just maybe 2 seconds, that way of looking was so much better than that. It can mean so much while you're editing. So I want to know my material as good as better than the editor. But I also let the editor work completely without me in the beginning, because I think it can come a lot of nice things from the editor that I haven't even thought about.
What's the most difficult part of directing?
For me, it's having a family and direct, because I love directing, I love being an artist, and I love my kids. And I think that is the hardest thing. I'm away a lot from my kids. Not only family, also the social life and, the everyday life, because it consumes a lot of you to be a director.
So one piece of advice to aspiring directors.
Go with your last. It's all about, finding stories that you really would like to do, and don't do things that you think are boring, because it's too much fun to be directing. Find people that you like and that like you, because then you have a context, and then you can start to work. So I think find a context that you like with people that you love and that inspire you, and then go with your lust.
Some of your influences you mentioned in the beginning, but are there any? Give me 3 of them just now. 3 of your influences.
3 influences. Then I would say actually playwright Lars Norén, because I read all his scripts during my teenage time, and I think he has both humor. He's very dark, but he has also humor. Then I would say Jane Campion, maybe, the piano I watched when I was 16. I think one film that I was very I loved watching was Kids by Harmer Corinne, and the way he filmed, and the way also Gammo that he made. I was exactly the right age, I think, when these films came. They were so rough, and it felt very honest what he was talking about, and so I think they have affected me or inspired me. But there's a lot of films that has inspired me.
If you could sum up directing with one word.
That was hard. Boring maybe, but creative problem solver, I would say.
If you could ask Mickey Marseman one question, what would that be?
To Mick, I would like to have a coffee with him and talk about making historical drama, because I might do that soon, and I don't know, it feels like it's so many things that you have to think about except the drama and the storytelling, all the details, and people are so picky in, the way if you are in the 60s or the 80s, it has to be perfect. How does he do not to drown in all these details? So let's have a coffee and talk about this.
Thank you, Sanna.